everyone, and happy October. It is spooky season! And you know that means it's also the time when artists band together to draw a month worth of prompts all in ink. So I am personally participating in this trend. You've probably seen up to day 7, I believe, by the time this video is posted, or maybe day 6. You've at least seen 5 days worth of Inktober prompts if you've been keeping up with me. And it's been super fun. So here in this video, I'm just showing you the process of Inktober day 1, and I'm going to be using Rin Spirit's prompt list. It is a flower prompt list, and basically I am drawing a bunch of flowers. So for this day it was anemones, I believe is how you pronounce it. And in order to add another layer of depth to the challenge, just so I'm not drawing exclusively flowers, I'm also going to be using the flowers' meanings in order to help me with the prompt. So I just went on Google, good old Google, and I searched anemone meaning, and it popped up with relaxation as one of the first results. So I decided that I would draw this character with their hair sort of in the grass, and she's going to be lying there with her sun hat tipped over her eyes. For the first few days, I actually unconsciously didn't really draw any eyes on my characters, or if I did, they were closed or not super detailed. So going forward, I'm going to try to draw a few more opened eyes, or at least facing the camera. But the wonderful thing about Inktober, if you've never heard of it, is basically it is a 31-day prompt challenge where you use a list from practically any artist or fandom. There are several ones out there, and I've used many in the past. And for each day in October, you would draw one thing in pen and ink. And this doesn't necessarily have to be pen, it just has to be ink, as it makes the challenge more fun. So some people will use like India inks or like brush pens. Some people will use markers. As long as it's ink based, you can technically do it. And I'm sure there's like water inks and stuff like that, oil based things. It just has to be ink in general. And I am going to be using my fine liners here, gifted to me a few years ago. They're still working pretty well, and probably by the time this challenge is over, they'll be empty, but they've served me almost 2 years, so I wouldn't be mad about that. The thing I love about Inktober is it sort of puts you in a box. Well, not necessarily, but it gives you a challenge that I feel like a lot of artists don't get to experience out of all the other, like, 330 days out of the year. It's the fact that Inktober challenges you to use pretty much one art supply, and it was started off of the base of using one art supply and one color. Obviously, you can sketch and stuff and pencil or whatever you fancy sketching in, but then once you're done with that, you're kind of forced to ink. And the thing about inking, especially if you do it traditionally, is that once you put it down, it's kind of impossible to pick back up. And the thing I love about that is it gives me sort of a basis to work with. And because I tend to do my Inktobers black and white, only using the singular black pen, well, I have 2 different pens. I have a 0.3 and a 0.1. And you'll also see my pencil pop in frame a few times just so I can map things out and sketch them in. But other than that, Inktober forces you to use one color and one art supply. Usually it's a fine liner, or you could use bigger or smaller markers, it doesn't really matter. And then it forces you to use, usually black is what most artists choose, and using a variety of different techniques such as hatching or filling things in, gradients, stippling, which are basically just a bunch of dots, cross-hatching, etc., etc. I've done a whole video on like my sketching techniques, and I go over hatching in that video, and it's definitely influential in how I sketch and how I draw. And for pen, I don't usually go this heavily when I'm doing traditional. Usually my line art tends to be very clean and very simple for traditional art, and then I, accent it with colored pencils or for markers, which is usually what I use line art for traditionally. I tend to go lineless when I'm doing colored pencil. You can see any of my previous videos if you'd like to see how I attempt that. So as I am wrapping up day 1, I just really want to encourage any artists who want to get out of their comfort zone or just enjoy Inktober to its fullest to really try it. It's a wonderful challenge that really makes you think a lot, and I think it really prepares you for like limiting yourself. It makes you be creative in ways you don't really consider. So I hope you enjoyed this video and the process, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!